Hello and welcome back to Suzerain, the Kingdom of Rizia, and Ramos Taurus. And today's episode, we've got a conversation to have. Probably has something to do with the fact we're at war. Yeah, we're at war now. Oh boy, I am nervous. Lucita and I had just concluded our visit to Terrador Air Force Base. Amid the whirlwind of activity, we barely got a chance to speak to each other. On the way back to the motorcade, she asked me to accompany her downtown. The city sustained heavy damage when Rizia reconquered it in the 1920s. Attempts had been made to revitalize it, but several bombed-out derelict buildings still stood in its center. She ordered our driver to stop in the front of the tallest one. It was completely boarded up, and the remains of a fire escape dangled precariously from the fifth story. In the dimming light of the setting sun, I could just make out an old mural painted on its side, an angular 1920s-style depiction of a palanquin, defaced almost beyond recognition. Where are you taking me, Duchess Azaro? Patience, your majesty. She instructed my bodyguard to wait in the car and led me up to the entrance. Drawing a key from her pocket, she unlocked the door. Flickering lights illuminated the building's decrepit interior. We walked across the uneven concrete floor, stepping around shards of glass until we came to an elevator shaft, guarded by a man in a crisp blue jacket. I noticed a brooch on his lapel, shaped like a pair of swords. He and Lucita exchanged nods as he let us into the elevator. We ascended to what must have been the very top floor. The elevator door opened and we stepped out. Immediately the atmosphere transformed. We were in a chic-looking lounge, its furnishings sleek and understated. The soft strains of jazz filled the air. A handful of patrons were sitting around, sipping cocktails. They paid us no mind as we crossed the room to a cozy private booth by the window. Where are we? My family bought this building when Rizia took back the Pale's administrative district. We've been using it as a members' club of sorts. She smiled ruefully. If we can't step out in public, we might as well come here. Aw. Yay, we get to go on a date before we have to invade Pales. Yay, I'm happy. We finally got the date. We'll deal with an invasion of Pales next, later, you know? Not many women would be so bold. I love that about you. I don't want to live life stewing over the opportunities I missed. Oh my god, this is gonna be a difficult episode for me to get through. A bow-tied server approached our booth to take our orders. Yeah, I'll try take a Pelesian sunset. Lucita nodded approvingly. Sounds good, I'll have the same. The server bowed and left to fetch our drinks. While we were waiting, Lucita gestured out the window. Beyond the twinkling lights of downtown Terrador, a line of steadily flashing beacons marked the border wall between Rizia and Pales. We're making our official declaration soon, aren't we? No going back from that. I am ready. Rizia is ready. I'm not sure if it is, but we got this. We got this. And hey, worst case scenario, we fail. You guys get to see what happens if you fail the war. You know? Like, we'll get to find out what happens. You sound like my father. The news of our impending war seemed to dramatically speed up his recovery. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back on his feet by the time the war begins. Amazing. Amazing. What a shame. I was looking forward to watching you order our troops around. She winked at me. You'll still get plenty of that, but he'll be invaluable for behind-the-scenes strategizing. I never wanted to end up in another war of Pales, but if we must fight, then I'm glad to have him with us. I trust our troops will obey him this time around. This will be nothing like the last war, Your Majesty. Just then the server returned with our drinks. The fact that the last war is so recent is nervous, but, you know, a king's gotta be strong, though. Alright, we carefully placed our Pelesian sunsets on the table. They were garnished with tiny umbrellas. We took our beverages and raised them. To victory. She looked me in the eyes, her glasses clinked. To victory! She, still holding my gaze, she took a slow, reflective sip. While we're here, I wanted to thank you for everything you've done for House Cesaro over the past years. Pleasing your family isn't as important to me as pleasing you. I'm sorry, I can't help it. This is so... I'm just like... I feel like I'm just reading a fan fiction right now. I'm sorry. It feels like I'm just recording me reading a fan fiction. I felt her foot brush up against mine under the table. You've managed one of those. The second will surely follow. Your readiness to defend Rizia against Pelesian aggression won you many admirers in Cadiz Monteclair. Yes, there are those of us who wish you had done more to prepare a kingdom for war we now find ourselves facing. Internally, our national security is not all that it could be, but it's not too late for something to be done about it. Simply put, my family likes order, and they like monarchs who are invested in maintaining it. And how do they plan to reward me? Shouldn't royal unity be its own reward? Obviously, you can count on the Azaro's full support in the war. Strong bonds between the crown and the military have always served the country well. During the War of Reasoned Succession, my ancestor Hannah drew up plans for the monarcho-military system of government. Rizia ruled by both a king and the army. Can you imagine? Truly the best of both worlds. The monarch gets to make the popular decisions while the military does the dirty work. Not a bad balance. Ask my father about this when you meet him. He's got plenty of opinions about it. I hope I get the chance. He's looking forward to speaking with you about a great many things. She shook her head. What am I even doing? Bringing all this up on the eve of a war? You haven't even touched your drink yet. I reached for the glass on the table and took a sip. It was a smooth, tangy mix of dark rum and orange blossom water with a squeeze of pomegranate syrup. Liquid courage, just what I needed. For the war? Man, this Suzerain Series 2 is showing you a side of me that I do not pop out for. Has not popped out in any Equestrian War series and the first Suzerain series. That squee. I might have to put a headphone warning before that. not anywhere close to my loudest shipping squeal. One of my friends one time said I genuinely like hurt their ears for the rest of the day after I squealed about a ship. So that's, you know. I don't know. Look, it's cute. I have to for this. I leaned across the table and kissed her. Her fingers grazed my lips as we slowly drew apart. If the other bar patrons noticed anything, they didn't show it. Not to be presumptuous, but I have a pass to the VIP suite, and I happen to know it isn't occupied. Okay. You thought ahead. How sweet of you. She groaned and swatted my arm. Is it too late to rescind my invitation? She slipped out of the booth. Don't worry about paying for the drinks. They're on the house. With a wink, she headed past the bar, down a darkened corridor, leaving my unfinished drink on the table. I followed close behind. Oh, we have bad workers' rights. Man, you know, we should probably be working on stuff like this. I think we should just go on another date, though. I'm so freaking happy right now. You have no idea how much that just healed my, like, if I was having a bad day, I would have been having a good day right now. And I was already having a pretty good day so far. So I'm just feeling great. This is a good day. I don't know. I'm just happy. Who cares about bad workers' rights? We went on a date. Laborers across Rizia face an uphill battle for their rights. Exploitative work hours, lack of proper safety measures, and minimal representation have become widespread issues, causing unrest in various industrial sectors. King visits Tindor Air Base. Together with Duchess Azaro, King Ramus has taken a tour of the Tindor Air Force Base, inspecting the state of Rizia's Air Force in the process, and meeting with some of Rizia's most decorated pilots. Yeah, that's what I was doing. Yep, that's what I was doing, definitely. Let's do all the briefing on the invasion of Pales first. I arrived at the council chambers to discuss the war plans with the highest-ranking members of the Rizian army. I'd never seen this room accommodate people who are not part of the council before. Today it was packed with military staff. Every single top-ranking general and admiral in Rizia was in attendance. As soon as I entered the room, they stopped their chatter and saluted me. Everyone except a man in a wheelchair stood up. Fair enough, I'd be concerned if he stood up. He's in a wheelchair. They were standing over a massive table, arranging golden and silver tokens atop a map of Pales. Lucito rushed to my side. Your Majesty? Your Grace? Given his unmatched expertise on military strategy, I brought General Tadius with me today. As soon as she said that, I realized the man in the wheelchair was the famous general himself. Despite knowing him for years as my father's counselor for war and security, and even serving under him in the military, I had difficulty recognizing him. When we caught eyes, he saluted me. I saluted him back. Shall I start, Your Majesty? Please. Before we begin, a news from the Grand Admiral. Unfortunately, the damage from the attack on our flagship was worse than initially reported, and the ship still remains out of service. We won't be able to use it in our invasion. Your Majesty, our forces are already mobilized. Our Navy and Air Force are prepared and are waiting for your orders, and our ground forces will be ready to cross the border within 48 hours. Due to the overwhelming presence of the Pelesian Navy and the naval defenses around Pales and the Gulf of Valleys, including the possibilities of direct engagement with Lesbia, our strategy will have to rely on an attack from either north or southwest. Yeah, what is our intelligence on Pelesian defenses? Our intelligence suggests Pales is expecting an immediate incursion, and they have been strengthening their northern borders with us, building forts and bunkers along Rizia Alka. But according to reports, they are already deploying thousands of soldiers along their whole border at this moment. We believe they've recently received dozens of tanks of lesbian origin as well. That's worrying. Yeah, we don't exactly... I've got a good amount of focus on army. My navy is pretty much only bolstered because of support from allies, and my planes have done nothing. So... yeah, shaky, I'm shaky. She pointed at the NTC on the map. Unfortunately, due to the recent acquirement of a large number of lesbian destroyers, their navy is more than capable of breaking our blockade attempts. And what is the plan for the initial strike? Our first objective is to take control of their cities, Zikez and Arkiz, and trap their forces in a choke point at Soles. The General Staff proposes a two-pronged attack. First, we'll need to block Pelesian ports from receiving any external support and cripple their trade. Second, a large grand offensive aimed at securing key border defenses. Speed is of the essence. We must overwhelm Pelesian soldiers before they can fully organize. However, an assault from the north would be very bloody, especially crossing River Alka. It is their most fortified border. What is the suggestion of the generals? Our proposal is to feign an attack in the north, to make them focus their forces there, but to spread our force throughout the border. This strategy would allow us to strike them from the west. However, their western border is covered with mountains, and believe they possess specially trained mountaineer units defending those terrains. There's a chance we can break through from their southern coast with the help of our navy. If we can deploy our armored units on the front, we can possibly push from their coast and block their supplies. What would attacking the north entail? We can deploy our armored forces around Fort Alice and focus our attack on Navir. If we get Navir quickly, we can move towards Arcus and cut out the supply of their whole army. However, initiating an attack from Fort Alice would put our city in great risk. We have to be quick enough for them to not focus their forces in the north. I think this is the strategy they would least expect. I expect that to be the case as well, Your Majesty. Alright. I mean, they wouldn't expect it, but they also don't expect it because it seems a little dumb. But they don't expect it. So, ups and downs, ups and downs. Okay, let's talk about our deployment, and general strategy. As the king, you have total control over our military strategy and the deployment of our troops. Instead, may I provide you with a briefing before we make any decisions? Please, General. What would you like to hear about first? What's the status of our military? As mentioned, our land armies are getting ready for action, Your Majesty. We can currently field a large number of infantry divisions. This is quite enough to overwhelm the Plesian forces. Fortunately, we can only field 3 mechanized support divisions, which are specifically trained to support the assault of our infantry and armored divisions. We should not risk losing them, as they can change the tide of the war. And lastly, when it comes to our tanks, we currently field only 2 tank divisions. Pils has far more tanks than we have. On the other hand, our air force is barely capable of contesting Plesian air superiority. We can still try conducting bombings outside of the reach of the primary air defense systems, which will be quite a problem. And lastly, our navy has unfortunately suffered a great loss with the RR in Villeroy taken out of service. It is also important to highlight that we, as much as we can contest Pales at sea, they still have superior technology and numbers than us. Fortunately, we do not have enough fleets to be able to counter Plesian ships in any direct confrontation. Our submarines will also provide the much needed support when necessary. Although we don't have too many of them, they can still wreak havoc on their ships. So basically we have one advantage, and that's pure men. Well, you know what? This has ended up being a lot more similar to my Hearts of Fire 4 campaigns than I thought. I've literally just played this like a Hearts of Fire 4 campaign. I have infantry. Give the details of each front and what to expect. Of course. She pointed to River Alka on the border with Pales. On their northern border, they have several heavily fortified areas across River Alka. They also have incredibly sophisticated air defenses placed on the town of Navarre, very close to our city, Fort Alice. These defenses will severely impact our capability to push for an assault from Fort Alice. She then pointed to the city of Zikiz and the western border. Their most defended position on their western front is right between our city of Terador and the Plesian city of Zikiz. We suspect they may push for a counteroffensive for Zikiz, possibly with their armored divisions in the front. The city of Vesuez and its surroundings are also defended by heavy air defense systems, which we believe to be located south of the city. The western borders are also home to mountainous terrain, which cuts the northern front from the south directly into the middle of Pales. We can expect to see heavy resistance to these mountains. We know that Pales have special mountaineer units defending these positions. I don't know how to beat that. They seem to be ready on all fronts, and we are not. What are our strategic objectives? Our initial operation will be aimed at taking control of Arcus and Zikiz. The city of Zikiz is located very close to our border, and it lies on the highway and railway system that runs in the middle of the country. Due to its proximity to our borders, it is heavily defended. Unfortunately, our Air Force can't be any help before we can destroy their anti-air systems, which are located in the mountains south of the city. Another strategic point is the town of Navarre, directly by our borders near Fort Alice. Pales also has incredibly sophisticated anti-air defenses installed in that area, and any attack from the north would require the capture of the area for our Air Force to be able to support our operation. They have so much anti-air. That's such an issue. He pointed at the map. I mean, we can't risk any of our planes. We don't have very many. They haven't been upgraded at all. The most important goal for our initial operation is to capture the city of Arcus, situated directly in the middle of Pales. We have intelligence that their defense is organized from there, and provide supplies to every front. By cutting that city from their network, we can crush their border defenses, and create a new front line from Navarre to the sea. I think I have enough information. What are your initial orders, Your Majesty? Okay, so we could either do before the invasion, we'll feign an attack from the north and try to get their forces to focus there. Before the invasion, we'll feign an attack from the south and try to get our forces to focus there. We'll lead a direct assault without any provocations. It is better if they spread their defense without a clear focus. What do I want to do? That is the question. I feel like there's wrong answers and right answers here, but I'm not a military strategist in real life. I don't know what the correct option is here. So the north, so what they're suggesting, their main suggestion is just to feign attack in the north, push in the south. Their main forces are in the north. They'll keep them up there. That'll keep them distracted if we can do a push. Another option is to go balls deep in the north, try to push into them, take them down before they have a chance to really push back at me. There's an option of actually feigning from the south, trying to divert some, and then pushing in the north with everything. But honestly, I'm not sure if they'll really divert much if we feign an attack to the south, because they seem to be preparing for a northern thing anyways. I feel like I either want to feign north and then attack south, or go all in on the north. I feel like doing one of those two things is what I want to do, and I think I'm just going to trust my generals, and we're going to feign an attack from the north and try to get their forces to focus there. The general in the room gave me a military salute while shouting, "Yes, sir." Yeah, our navy is not big enough to just risk, so... Furthermore, we will keep our navy on standby until the assault begins. We cannot risk any reckless damage. Understood, Your Majesty. In light of this, I'd like to send you a detailed plan for our initial deployment through the border, focusing on a simultaneous attack towards Ziquez and the southwestern coast. So this is how to just ignore it, but I'm not doing that. I will look it in detail, General. Thank you, Your Majesty. Everyone in the room except Tadius stood up and saluted me. We will relay your orders immediately, Your Majesty. I will return to you as soon as we have an update. And there it was. The invasion of Pales was about to begin. Monarch overseas war. The monarch direct oversight of war efforts represents a centralized approach to military leadership. While this ensures unified command and decision-making, it also presents challenges in managing the complexities of war and governance, highlighting the need for balance in strategic focus and resource allocation. The involvement of the monarch also symbolizes a personal commitment to the nation's security and success, fostering a sense of unity and resolve amongst the populace. But also makes me more to blame if we fail. Invasion of Pales. Yeah, the first one. But it's time for a second one. Relationships hostile. Yeah, in 1955, the simmering tensions between the Kingdom of Rizia and the Grand Duchy of Pales erupted into a full-scale conflict, marking the onset of the Second Rizian-Pelesian War. Mirroring historical confrontations where long-standing disputes boil over into warfare, Rizia launched an extensive military invasion of Pales, employing a comprehensive strategy that engaged all branches of its armed forces. This aggressive push saw significant deployment of ground troops bolstered by air and naval support, aiming to overwhelm Pelesian defenses through sheer force and coordinated maneuvers. The conflict rapidly escalated, with both sides committing substantial resources to what rapidly became the primary theater of war in the region. Yeah. Sovereign Memorial Commemoration. The National Museum, high in the hills above Portugal, embraced me with a stately presence. I was here for the annual Sovereign and Memorial Commemoration, a ceremony honoring the former monarchs of Rizia. Having left Hugo in charge of overseeing the event, I'd arrived early before the formal ceremony commenced to have a moment to myself. Adorned with statues and inscriptions of monarchs from eras long past, the mausoleum stood as witness to the enduring legacy of Rizia. In the hushed corridors, I sought solace, not as king, but as a man burdened by the echoes of history. Yeah, I'm definitely burdened by the echoes of history, judging by I'm repeating the same mistakes of our forefathers. I'm just hoping I do it right this time. I'd also come to honor the memory of my late wife, Lena, whose resting place could be found within these hallowed grounds as well. Vina, of course, was by my side. She was holding a bouquet. Feels like we were just here. I miss her so much. It does feel like we were just here, doesn't it? Your mother's presence is timeless, and it's only right that we revisit this place. Timeless, maybe, but sometimes it feels like the memories are slipping away, and revisiting only makes the aches worse. It was my own pleading that steered us into the storm. We should have never set foot on that boat. You were a child. I was the one who refused the trip. If I had gone, I could have been there to save her life. Your sorrow mirrors mine. It's hard not to wonder, what if... We still have each other. You don't know how scared I was losing you during the Pails incident. You were never in danger of losing me, Father. I can take care of myself. It wasn't long before we reached her mother's final resting place. Vina set the bouquet in a marble vase next to the sarcophagus. I gathered these roses from the royal garden. They're the absolute best. We shared a quiet moment without words until a voice from behind me caught our attention. Well, there you are. What are you doing here? She hadn't attended a sovereign memorial commemoration since Father's passing. At my age, surprises are as rare as non-gray hairs. Don't act as though my presence is some extraordinary revelation. And for the record, I can still navigate these halls without assistance, thank you very much. Vina, it's so good to see you. You're looking as lovely as ever. You too. Vina went to her, and they exchanged a brief embrace. We'll catch up later. I'm meeting Manus for a walk before the ceremony. He didn't feel like joining us here. We felt it would be more appropriate to limit visiting Rini to family only. If by we you mean you? I agree with your father. Just because he's courting the king's daughter doesn't mean his special privileges. I mean, I was more meaning as an excuse to why I was here to placate her, but I guess we're going to take that in the wrong way. Her eyes swept across the room, coming to rest on Lena's grave. Forgive my lack of decorum. I should treat this day with the gravity it deserves. Gradually she drew near, her eyes conveying unexpressed sentiments. She reached out and took Vina's hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. She was an extraordinary woman, your mother. I'd even go as far as to say she was like a daughter to me. I wish I'd known her as well as you did. Lena won over every person she met, even prickly queen consorts. Ha! I confess it took me a while to get over my own prejudices about Rumburgian nobles, but it's true I did grow to love her dearly. She smiled in fond recollection. I remember the exact moment my feeling towards her changed. It was right after the Civil War broke out in Welland. You two were at Palis Resina for dinner, and Lena and I escorted for tea after you and your father got into another one of your rows. Up to that point, I was adamant that Rizia should accept as few refugees as possible. But as I spoke with your late wife about the situation, she made such a convincing case for empathy and kindness that I was literally moved to tears. She had this way of seeing past politics, straight to the heart of the matter. The very next day I persuaded Velero to open our borders. Those were tears in Vina's eyes. That's beautiful. I had no idea. I never knew. So many lives were saved thanks to that one conversation. If only she was around to talk to Victor Smolik now. I know she would have been proud of the person you've become, Vina. Despite Vina's attempts to conceal her emotions, the subtle quiver in her lips and a deep sigh betrayed her inner turmoil. Please excuse me. Vina hurried out of the room before anyone could respond. Losing a parent is hard, especially when they love you as much as Vina's mother loved her. Speaking of love, I know you have approved of Manus and Vina, and I support passion, but it might not be as digestible for the rest of the house. Either way, it needs to happen sooner than later if our family's to secure its place on the throne. But I'm getting sidetracked. In case you're wondering, which I know you are, I'm here to finally pay your father a visit after finding this. My mother reached into her handbag and held up a weathered envelope. I'm gonna take the envelope from her. A love letter from your father, the first one he ever wrote. I want to honor him by giving it back. How very thoughtful. She took the envelope back. It seemed only fitting. Come, let us honor him together. My mother left the room, and I followed behind. We made our way down the great hall, past the resting place of the great leaders, and some not so great who came before me. It wasn't long before the light of the eternal flame, a single torch placed at the late king's sarcophagus, symbolized a monarch's enduring reign, guided us the rest of the way. As we neared, my mother's pace slowed, as if an overwhelming wave of memories passed upon her. You all right? Yes, I've never been better. The flame's flickering glow cast dancing shadows on the path. We stopped just before we reached my father's stone encasing. There you are. We both fell silent. In the royal tradition, descended kings were initially entombed here. However, upon the passing of the succeeding monarch, a solemn ritual was observed, relocating the late king to rest alongside their forebears. If you don't mind, I'd like to say a few words to your father. I'll give you some privacy. I gave her some space to allow for a moment between the two of them. She spoke to him in a hushed whisper, for much longer than I expected. Whatever she had to say was evidently meaningful, perhaps something she had been holding back, especially considering their strained relationship for most of his life. When she was finished, she took out the love lever and placed it on the lid of the sarcophagus. I took this as my cue to return. May it rest with him, carrying the memories of a cherished connection and the legacy he left behind. For better or worse, his legacy will live on. It's a reminder that our actions reverberate through time. Sometimes you'd be wise to consider in the actions or decisions you make, my son. A reminder to choose our path with care. Yes, because our name carries weight, son. It's not just the actions, it's how you carry the responsibilities that defines the legacy. I can't escape the shadows of his choices, no matter what path I forge. Maybe not, but you can cast new shadows that speak of redemption and resilience. Perhaps, but I'll paint a legacy that transcends any failings or shortcomings of the past. You speak as if the royal house has the plague. You have the power to redefine it, what it means to bear that name. Sometimes the most profound responsibilities are the ones we inherit, not by choice, but by destiny. Inheritance comes in many forms. I'll embrace whatever responsibilities destiny throws at me, be it triumphs or defeats, much like my father. God willing, my victory over Pales will honor his memory by finishing what he started. A noble resolve indeed, yet be cautious not to let it engulf you to the extent of losing sight, for it may lead you to your undoing, just as destiny ordained for your father. I began pacing around the hall. I understand the risks, but this is a battle that must be faced head-on. You can't see the future any more than anyone else. More and more, apparently. You sound just like him, but I'll tell you what I do see. I see a son determined to embark on a military expedition, when his attention should be dedicated to the rightful restoration of zeal. I see that very foundation of the monarchy are being put at risk through such actions. And speaking of risks, I've heard whispers of your escapades with House Azaro, a family harboring their own ambitions regarding the throne, or so rumors say. Okay, what if I don't want to get her angry, huh? Risk? This coming from the person who's been secretly grasping a blasphemous religion right under my nose? Or so the rumors say. She froze, her body tensing. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, that's a relief. I guess I can close the case on that one. What was I thinking? Don't take that tone with me. You may be queen, but I'm still your mother. Mother stood firm, her gaze unwavering. Yet it took only a short while before she yielded, sighing in resignation. It's called faith for a reason. It's not something you casually discard, like shedding clothes for a different outfit. If you're looking for an apology, you can forget it. I will not renounce my beliefs to appease anyone's expectations, and I'll be damned if you think otherwise. The lingering sound of her final words reverberated throughout the chamber. Look, I honestly don't care what you believe. I just wish you'd been forthright about it. My beliefs are mine to hold, and I don't owe any explanation. If forthrightness is what you seek, understand that some aspects of me are not open for debate. Now, if you'll excuse me, I seek solitude by your father's side. No. Alright, I'll go. But let me make it crystal clear. Father's legacy and his opinion about me are of no concern. I've been determined to correct his mistakes by accomplishing what he couldn't. Then good luck to you. You clearly know what's best. I don't remember leaving the mausoleum, or the sounds of the shock and confusion from the throngs of the people I passed, waiting for the ceremony to begin. All I know is that I never looked back. Okay, then. Yeah, declaration of war next time. Sovereign Memorial Commemoration marred as King Ramus Taurus abruptly departs, reason unknown. In an unexpected turn of events, this year's annual Sovereign Memorial Commemoration faced a significant setback when King Ramus Taurus abruptly left before the ceremony could commence. The departure of the reigning monarch, without any disclosed reason, left her to puzzles and concerned, making it a topic of intrigue and speculation. While the event proceeded, the unexpected exit of the current king added an air of mystery, overshadowing the unusual solemnity associated with the honoring of the former monarchs of Rizia. Additionally, Queen Estella Taurus made a surprising appearance, marking her first visit since the passing of her late husband. And next time, it's the declaration of war speech. I'm excited, and I hope you are too, and I'm very nervous. But I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.